Approaching a quarter of a century in orbit, the aging and fragile-looking International Space Station is closer to its end than ever before. The need to replace the ISS is critical. Space exploration is about to enter a new frontier, with over 10 private space companies racing to succeed the ISS as the first commercial space station. If these private sectors must succeed, NASA will play a major role. And of course, NASA is aware that creativity is fostered by competition, so which of these companies will meet the criteria to replace the prestigious ISS? Can China's Tiangong actually win in this race? Welcome to our channel. Today's video will take you deep inside details of this commercial space competition, who are those involved, and which is likely to succeed the ISS. The deadline for creating a replacement is fast approaching. NASA has stated that the ISS will be retired in 2030. A sheer warning that nothing in the Earth's orbit can remain in space indefinitely. International cooperation and goodwill were the cornerstones of the ISS's construction. But in the face of growing political unrest, many of the new initiatives are being proposed by private companies and individual states. At present, there's a risk the US might need to rely on China's space station, which is already functional in space, but according to NASA, we can't let that happen. So, the American Space Agency launched the Commercial Low Earth Orbit Destinations (CLD) program to develop new commercial space stations. In January 2020, Axiom Space was the first private company to secure a contract for this mission. After that, more private companies like Axiom Space, Voyager Space, or Blue Origin have joined the race and are working together with NASA to create a space station. NASA is providing hundreds of millions of dollars in funding to each startup and is imparting its expertise to them. In due course, they will choose one business to replace the International Space Station, ISS, as an official partner. NASA claims that this will enable them to concentrate on deep space exploration, which they view as a far more challenging undertaking. However, even without NASA's clearance, any firm that can design and build its space station, receive federal approval, and launch it into orbit will be able to conduct its deep space missions. Axiom's station might be the first to reach space, at least in part. Axiom's Chief Technology Officer, Matt Ondler, reports that the company intends to launch a module that will link directly to the International Space Station, ISS, in 2025. There would be 3 more modules after that. Every module is a spacecraft unto itself. Each vessel would therefore be launched into orbit by a rocket and thereafter reunite with the aging space station. According to Ondler, the ISS would supply electricity and some temperature control to the early modules. The first 2 units would be identical to each other and equipped with enough life support to support 4 crew members each. A communications system would be included in the second module. The third would be a manufacturing and research center. According to Ondler, alloys used in high-stress areas of high-performing engines could be up to twice as strong if produced in space. This is because certain alloys' crystalline structures align imperfectly on Earth, but perfectly when they cool in microgravity. Power and thermal capabilities would be included in the 4th module. In addition to releasing more heat and housing the station's airlock, which astronauts could use to leave and return to the station for spacewalks, its solar panels would collect energy to generate electricity. According to Ondler, we have the full capability to be independent of the ISS once we get that 4th module. After that, Axiom's station might separate from the ISS and circle the planet independently. The crew's exhaled carbon dioxide would be combined with hydrogen from the water on the station to produce methane, which may power debris avoidance maneuvers, orbit increases, and other operations. Axiom also hopes to improve station life, at least relative to other space station experiences. According to Ondler, the inside of the ISS generally looks like a crazy person's garage. There are wires and stuff all over the place. The crew rooms inside Axiom's station are depicted by artists as having walls the color of eggnog and tiny, bright, yet cozy lights. The station would feature an Earth observatory that would travel to the station with the 3rd module and attach to the bottom of the station, in addition to big windows facing Earth in the crew quarters. The observatory could accommodate the entire crew, and they could eat meals together, for example, according to Ondler. Its 8 roughly 6 by 3 foot panes set in an octagon would be the largest space windows ever. Thus, the Blue Origin orbital reef comes next. Blue Origin sees an orbiting business park in space for its orbital reef station. It would have a central module that served as a lobby to which habitation and research modules would be attached. Additionally, the core would connect to a mast that would have solar panels on it to collect electricity and a big radiator that resembled a fin to expel extra heat from the station. According to Wagner, the station's guidance, navigation, control, and environmental control systems would all be handled by the core and mast. Blue Origin astronauts would not have to labor where they slept. Wagner states, "We have zoned the space station so that you are not working in your bedroom or sleeping in the laboratory." An inflatable life habitat and a node module would be attached to one side of the core, while a lab module would be attached to the other. Experiments may be attached to the outside of the module, and the lab would contain capabilities for study in areas like the material and biological sciences on the inside. The kitchen, workout facilities, and sleeping quarters would all be part of the life habitat. Along with having an airlock that astronauts would use to enter and exit the station for work outside of it, the node would be coupled to that segment and allow additional visiting vehicles to dock with the station. Orbital Reef will house more than simply manufacturing and scientific experimentation, according to Blue Origin's plans. According to Wagner, the station may potentially be used for anything from a sports facility to a movie studio by those in the entertainment business. She thinks the station might eventually include customer-focused amenities like a 5-star hotel. Orbital Reef's interior volume would still be 90% that of the ISS, even though it would have far fewer modules than the ISS. Once the life habitat and node are linked, up to 10 astronauts may reside aboard the station. These astronauts could include a mix of NASA employees, Orbital Reef crew members, space tourists, private researchers, and entertainers at any one moment. She continues, Blue Origin envisions its station being less cluttered, while the International Space Station is packed, with bags strapped to the walls, wires snaking around, and narrow working corridors. Wagner states, "You don't want to feel like you're living in cramped quarters on a submarine if you're going on a vacation to space." Now, moving onwards, is Voyager Space and NanoRacks Star Lab. This station would launch all at once and include a habitat, docking node, propulsion system, robotic arm, and solar panels that would unfold once the station reached space. "We'll be fully operational after that one launch," says Manber. "We believe that this will be the largest mass ever launched." The other stations would be composed of various modules launched separately. The cylindrical habitat, which could house 4 astronauts, would probably be divided into 3 floors for the crew quarters, research, and manufacturing. Even though there is plenty of space, the ISS is busy. Manber describes the ISS as having very little privacy, sleeping bags velcroed to the wall, and researchers right near where you sleep. Our goal is to sort everything out. The sleeping quarters would be larger than on the ISS thanks to the team's collaboration with the hotel chain Hilton on the design of the habitation room. Not only would Starlab have a science lab in orbit, but NanoRacks would run a duplicate of the Ohio State University's lab here on Earth. Visitors would be able to work with hardware and become acquainted with the ground-based lab in Ohio before conducting research in orbit. However, Manber notes that for the station to accept an extra module, a partner or consumer would need to desire to attach something to the station. An institution like as the European Space Agency could wish to affix a research or tourism module to the station. However, Manber believes that the corporations eventually building a second Starlab is the more likely scenario. They're already considering the possible design and other markets that a second space station might cater to. All stations are now investigating a wide range of potential applications, such as housing astronauts from space agencies, manufacturers, and visitors. Manber compares the ISS to the general store, which was the first establishment in the American West's frontier. Manber believes that stations will eventually become more specialized. There will be platforms that are devoted to manufacturing, tourism, and housing professional astronauts, among other uses, he predicts. It starts to get exciting when I look out the next 10 years. The International Space Station, ISS project, will terminate in 2031, either in a catastrophic fire or by destroying the station for alternative purposes. Other, smaller space stations that are prepared and waiting to carry on human habitation in Earth's orbit, with astronauts from farther afield putting foot on the moon, could take its place. Though it might just be the beginning in the annals of history, the International Space Station will leave behind an astounding legacy. Building a space station is no simple feat. These latest advancements in the different private sectors has not pointed to any winner yet, but it is expected that when the ISS is ready to be deorbited, NASA will have produced one or more approved new stations. One would think that the Chinese station should take its position first, as the saying goes, "A bird at hand is worth two in the bush." What do you think? Which of them do you believe will successfully meet the standard to replace the International Space Station? Kindly share your thoughts in the section below. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our channel. Thanks for joining us.